Good evening, Navika. First of all, welcome back. As they say, people recover from COVID, but a tough Punjabi that you are, COVID is recovering from you. So well done.
Thank you.
There are a couple of points I want to make.
Get well wishes, best wishes, or are you taking a dig at me?
If you're above 18, you can also get a free vaccine.
No, not at all.
But thank you very much. Yes,
absolutely
good
fantastic
to be back.
To see you back. And I've just, I was complimenting your Punjabiyat, that completely thrashed COVID.
Yes, absolutely.
That's true. No, there are a couple of issues here, and I think, and I think I would like to take a couple of minutes to actually, elaborate on both, because both are important. One is Dynasty, and the other is the Lankan crisis, as you say, Navika. It is a tragedy that while Sri Lankans are wishing their country was India, some Indians are wishing it was Sri Lanka. Nations recover, haters don't. That is the thing that we need to remember. And if we look at Sri Lanka, why on earth would anyone, leave alone an economist, believe that India is going the Lankan way? You look at the debt to GDP ratio. In Sri Lanka, it was 120. But that's not all. A series of catastrophic events come together to make this so-called perfect storm, where nations go into this abyss. India went into this abyss in 1991. Our GDP to debt to GDP ratio at that point of time was 50%. And yet, our forex was not even $1 billion. Sri Lanka is at least $2 billion. We were $0.6 billion. We mortgaged our gold. We loaded it onto the ships and it was about to reach the Bank of England. So the things were that dire. But we recovered, didn't we? The point with Lanka is that 3 or 4 things have happened at the same time. This dead assets, China financing 10% of their debt, organic farming, 3 or 4 other decisions that have led to the crisis. India is nowhere near those crises. If you look at our inflation, if you look at all the other countries, for example, France's debt to GDP ratio is 120% more than Lanka. Japan is 270%. Do you mean to say Japan is going the Lankan way? No, it doesn't happen like that. 3 or 4 decisions come together. And this is where I come to the second issue, which is the dynasty. The problem with India is that one can never be sure if India is going to go that way or not. I say right now it won't. But if you look at what we have been doing, we are also in this freebie culture, aren't we? In fact, if you look at Bengal's debt to GDP ratio, it's almost 41%. Same with Punjab. Now, every party is for freebies. But at the same time, nobody wants to improve our capacity. Nobody wants to improve our capacity to generate more and more GDP. Nobody wants reforms. Nobody wants farm reform. Nobody wants privatization. And yet, we want to keep on giving this freebie culture. What happened in Lanka is directly tied to the dynasty. Yeah, Navika, just 1 minute, because now I come to the other issue. You see, it's never about dynasty alone, but rather how deep-rooted it is. Every political party is infected with this disease. 45 current BJP MPs and more than 92 BJP MLAs have dynastic linkages. And the BJP's defense that theirs are the one-generation linkages, unlike the dendritic linkages of the Congress and regional parties, is thin, to be honest. Because even one-generation dynasty linkage can endow nepotism, preferential, non-meritorious advantage and privilege, and can and does take away the opportunity of a non-dynast candidate. Remember, in politics, first mover advantage is everything. And 2, this is classic case of moral relativism trying to rationalize your hypocrisy. That said, Congress is special. Just 30 seconds, because the fire lit by the erstwhile Congress Zamindars, Navika, has singed the minds of their progeny so completely that nothing grows on that charred landscape except entitlement. Let me illustrate the damage it causes with just one example. 20 seconds. Here are the last census indices of Amethi and Raebareli, the Nehru-Gandhi dynasty bastions for 60 years. People below poverty line, 54%. Households with electricity, 14%. Vaccinated children, 16%. National deaths, 83 per thousand. For India, it was 28. This is what the dynasty reduced Amethi and Raebareli to. Yeah, good evening to all my panelists. Look, personally, I think this is making a mountain out of a molehill. There is nothing wrong in the Prime Minister and the Speaker inaugurating the emblem. They've inaugurated just the emblem. I'm sure Rahul Gandhi and others will be present as the leader of the opposition in 2024 when the whole building is inaugurated.
Look, they promoted open defecation because they hated Modi's Swachh Bharat. They promoted obesity because they hated Modi's Fit India. They promoted oppressive dress code because they hate Modi's government school uniform guidelines. Modi hatred has transformed the opposition into sociopath. Let's hope Modi doesn't start promoting pranayam. Ye log to saans lena band kar denge. Very quickly, Rahul, there are, Madhav, I beg your pardon, there are three issues here on which the opposition is outraging. And let me clear their doubts on all. Number one, why was the opposition not invited? Well, the Speaker of the Lok Sabha was there, and so was the Prime Minister. The President was also not there, by the way. What do you want? The roof to be brimming with the entire opposition for just the inauguration of an emblem? Arey bhai, building inaugurate karenge to bula lena sabko. And besides, every session, all they do is rush to the well when unhappy. What if they jump from the roof on a whim? Let me be clear. After a lot of trial and error, Madhav, the BJP has finally mastered the art of blunting all opposition to its decisions. Deliver on what the Congress promised. It is eerie how they have been fulfilling Congress promises one after another, from erecting tallest flagpoles to bullet train, to playing national anthem in cinema halls, to Aadhaar, to GST, to CAA, to farm bills, and to now the new parliament building. Bol Modi ji rahe, shabd Congress ke. Rahul must be saying, jaye to jayega, kare to karega, wah Modi ji, wah. New parliament, if you don't know, Madhav, was a Congress idea, flouted by Jairam Ramesh. Rahul must be saying, ki bhai, can we at least do something that we have proposed? But the problem is, it was demanded by them back in 2012. Unfortunately, they indulged in so many scams that they ran out of public money. Number two, very briefly, just 30 seconds. Others are also outraging, especially Owaisi. Why was there a Hindu ceremony and a puja and havan? You know, this is the most illogical of all arguments. Number one, the world over, things are launched with religio-cultural ceremonies. We launch our fighter planes with ceremonies interesting to all three religions. And second, if you don't want Hindu ceremonies, then stop controlling only Hindu temples. Stop leeching billions of only Hindu places of worship. So, you know, let us be very clear. Let's not make a mountain out of a molehill. It is just the launching or inauguration of an emblem, for heaven's sake. It's not the entire building, for which I'm sure everyone would be invited. All I have to say is, as I said, the president wasn't there because it was just the launching or the inauguration of the emblem, not the whole house. Tehseen, if tomorrow there is a canteen being inaugurated and Modi is walking around and say, all right, let me inaugurate the canteen of Parliament House, you'll say, Arey bhai, hame bulaya nahi, Rahul ko nahi bulaya, canteen inaugurate kar diye bina Rahul ke. Please. Once the whole Parliament House, the new building is up and running, Anand, of course, everybody. Now, one second. In 2021, when Subhash Chandra Bose, when in opposite Victoria Memorial, Madhav, you remember, when Modi and Mamata Didi were on stage, who walked, huffed and puffed and walked off the stage? It was Mamata Didi. So they have a visceral hatred for Modi. They have a visceral hatred for this whole plan, but still they want to be invited. Wo bhi emblem ke uspe. Yaar, chit bhi meri, pat bhi meri. It doesn't work like that, yaar. You have to, and can I please ask Tehseen, jate, how long did it take for Ms. Sonia Gandhi to meet President Kovind after he was elected as the president? Tell me, Tehseen, straight question to you. When they are making such hue and cry about an emblem being inaugurated and them not invited, here is Ms. Sonia Gandhi, who was the leader at that point of time of the largest party or Congress's opposition party, did not even meet Mr. Kovind for possibly a year after he was inaugurated as the president. और यहाँ ये emblem के पीछे पड़े हुए. Okay. So you see the difference now, I hope. Okay. You know, I just hope that, with due respect, Dr. Ghosh knows more about medicine than she knows about history. Because the fact is that Emperor Ashoka was already a Buddhist for 8 years before he undertook that war in Kalinga that killed up lakhs of people. So he did not turn Buddhist after the Kalinga war. He was already a Buddhist for 8 years. And as far as her commenting about the professionalism of the artist who's made the Sarnath lion, well, art is subjective, but can I please show out here, if you can see this. This is the sculpture designed by Mamata Banerjee on the occasion of Youth World Cup. It looks like a footballer was about to head a football and the football actually went inside his torso. So much for artistic professionalism. Now let me come to your topic. Here again, let me show you, Swati. This is on the left. On the left is the original Sarnath lion. which is in the Sarnath Museum.
We have it on the screen, Dr. Ranganathan. You can go ahead.
Yes, and on the right is the bronze lion on who you have to be absolutely blind to say that the bronze lion is more menacing than the original Sarnath lion. I mean, this is emblematic, pun not intending, emblematic of the way opposition behaves. It snarls like a lion, and in the end, Modi keeps on winning and smiles like a Cheshire cat. अरे भाई वो शेर है, वो snarl नहीं करेगा तो क्या म्याऊ म्याऊ करेगा बिल्ली की तरह? And secondly, as I've already told you, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. You compare the original Sarnath lion to the bronze lion. Nowhere is the bronze lion more menacing than the Sarnath one. Secondly, this is symbolism. There are hundreds of thousands of Sarnath lions all across India that don't look identical. It is supposed to symbolize power. It is supposed to symbolize aggression. That is what lions are for. Ashoka did not choose 4 pigeons. He chose 4 lions. So please, can we get this straight? And secondly, this is just a friendly dig at my good friend Tehseen. The problem is he still prefers Singh to Singham.
30 seconds is the attack by the Cong on the presidential candidate Navika, Ms. Dropadi ji, is vile and totally reprehensible. And entirely in keeping with their lack of intelligence and abundance of mediocrity and servitude towards the dynasty. They simply cannot understand how one tribal woman can reach to the very top purely through her hard work and perseverance. But the vileness of the attack has, I must admit, even taken me by surprise. The pretense is all gone now, Navika. So is the political correctness. That anyway for the Congress was a thin veneer to begin with, that the Honorable Dropadi is a tribal, that she is a woman, that she has reached where she has purely on merit, is of no consequence to these dynasty lapdogs, because they are associated her with, now what they say, quote unquote, evil philosophy. Do they mean Hindutva? If they do, then this is psychopathy topped up with profound ignorance. क्या कर रहे हैं ये लोग?